Welcome back to DecoyNoise and another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for making a fake diary entry to catch my stepmom? So as always, we read the story in its entirety. I take it over to Decoy Court where I give you my knee-jerk reaction. Then I read over some of the top comments, the controversial comments, and your comments down below. But let's go ahead and get to the story right now. So OP wrote, I, a 17-year-old female, have been quarantined with my dad and stepmom. My mom is a doctor, so she was super paranoid about my family living with her during the situation. But as things where I live are settling down, she let us come stay with her again. My stepmom has known me for 2 years, and our relationship has always been weird. She's a nice person, but she can be pretty mean and childish if we do something that she doesn't like. She also has a tendency to run to our dad if she hears something bad about us. Long story short, I have a diary and I keep a lot of private stuff in it. Dad called me a few days ago, we were visiting with our mom, saying that he has to talk to me when I come back. Apparently I was in trouble because of something I apparently said to my stepmom. When he told me what she said I said, I immediately recognized it because I wrote it in my diary. I realized a lot of the stuff wrote down was stuff she was telling him, so I decided to come up with a plan to see if I was right. I wrote a fake entry basically saying stuff I would never do in a million years and set the trap. Dad calls me while out visiting with friends, and when I come back, he grounds me for what I did. Stepmom comes in later, apologized and said it sounded concerning and she had to tell. I told her it was fake, knew she read my diary, and refused to speak to her. My dad came in and tried to talk to me, and I told him that stepmom was reading my diary and he didn't believe me. Now I'm with my mom, and I don't know if what I did was fair. I felt it was the only way to prove my point, and I didn't know what else to do. Am I the antagonist? Wow, thank you so much for the award. Honestly, I didn't expect this to blow up as much as it did, but I just want to thank all of you for your support and ideas. A lot of people have been saying either getting I don't know what that is, a licking diary? Or an online diary. Locking diary is what they're saying. Locking diary or an online diary. So I'm looking into that. In the meantime, I'm currently staying with my mom and I'm trying to stay as long as possible. Overall, I just want to say thank you for all the kind messages and bright ideas that you've given me. Thank you, Reddit. You're truly magical. Okay, so enough with the award speech in the Am I the Antagonist post. Let's take it to Decoy Court and just say, like, okay, are they the antagonist? And the situation is the stepmom is, you know, OP and the stepmom have a rocky relationship, to say the least, because they're saying all these things like, I can't believe that she's going through my diary. I can't believe that she bosses my dad around. And, you know, my mom is this accomplished doctor, so I'd rather stay with her. So I get the whole rift between OP and the stepmom. And the idea is, hey, she's reading my diary and invading my privacy. So the idea is, are they the antagonist for writing something in the diary that just didn't happen, just to set the trap? And the thing is, though, is, you know, yes, that makes sense, and it's actually kind of ingenious for a kid to think of this idea, but also the thing where, you know, the stepmom sits her down and says, hey, look, you know, I'm sorry that the stepmom says, I'm sorry I had to go to your dad and say all these things, like, I'm reading your diary, but it was a bit concerning, so I had to tell him. And she's already apologizing for the thing or whatever, and the dad's like, okay, cool, we were all realizing it's fake. So it's kind of like a no harm, no foul type of thing, because it would probably be the stepmom's responsibility, regardless if she was reading it before or anything like that, to say, hey, look, this had come up. The thing that makes them the antagonist is they're saying that, like, you know, the stepmom is saying, hey, to the dad, this is what the OP's saying to me, when they're really just reading the diary. So I think that they're both the antagonists here, but I guess I'd kind of have to go and say what the decoy defense, what would that even have to be in this scenario? It's kind of a bizarre thing to do. Is maybe the decoy defense is, you know, OP saying, I'm saying I'm doing things that I would never do in a million years. Well, maybe they just got caught writing stuff in the diary, and she's not as this crazy genius as she thought this crazy genius or maniacal evil genius. If OP wasn't this evil genius they're claiming to be, where they're saying that I knew she was reading my diary, so I put it in there. It's like, no, OP didn't realize it is. They're just saying all these terrible things they're doing, like harming animals and doing drugs and all those other terrible things, and they're writing in it and not realizing the stepmom's reading it. And then finally, when it comes to saying, hey, look, this is what we found in there, the OP's like freaking out saying, oh, that was a fake story. I wanted you to read that because I knew you were reading that stuff, and, you know, all this stuff. Like, she's just making this post to try to have some backup. Well, here you go, Dad. Like, I know that you guys are reading it. I even do an Am I the Antagonist post because I knew that you guys were invading my privacy. I don't know. Maybe the decoy defense needs a little bit more rehashing in that story. But I'm going to go ahead and say, just reading the story as at its face value. No fake stories, none of that like that. I'm gonna go ahead and say there's no antagonist here, including the stepmom. You know, it's gotta be a weird scenario to walk into another relationship where you're the new mom and half of this OP's life. The other mom is a doctor and she's accomplished or whatever that weird power dynamic is between stepmom and real mom, and she probably doesn't get to talk to OP as much as she'd like because OP admittedly says, you know, we have this weird relationship that, you know, she doesn't really respect the way that stepmom treats real dad. So this whole situation where now she's just gonna kind of appear in this diary whenever she goes out of town, that kind of makes sense for, like, you know, her trying to contribute to the relationship. But hey, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Make sure you guys are taking the short break right now to give me your feedback as well as to what you think about the story. Should they be reading the diary? Should they not? I like to read all the comments, especially people that are subscribed with the notifications on. When you're one of the first 10 people that comment, I usually can get to those comments right away. People that would comment maybe a couple days later, I don't really see it as often. The YouTube back end is kind of weird. But let's go ahead and get to those top comments after you take that short break right now. But the top comment said, "Not the antagonist. Did your dad even address this massive invasion of privacy? What does your mom think?" And then OP came back to say, "I kind of wanted proof because otherwise it would be my word against hers, and he always sides with her because he thinks she knows better. Mom was upset but thinks I went a little overboard, but understands why I did it." So it seems that, like I said, no harm, no foul in the situation where everybody kind of understands why everybody had the motivations. Stepmom just wants to make sure that OP is, you know, doing the right things in life, and then mom understands why OP would just write the fake diary entry because it's, you know, trying to protect their privacy. The one thing it would be is, you know, did your dad even address this massive invasion of privacy? I would like to think that the diary entry that, you know, stepmom brought to the dad was just so shocking and like insane. They're like, wow, I really need to come forward and say this is what's there. So, you know, maybe they're just slightly leaking information back to dad as, you know, small things were happening, but when something big happened where it was enough alarming information where she had to show the dad and, you know, blow up her cover, because, you know, I'd like to think that stepmom isn't dumb enough to realize that, hey, if she just outright goes to the dad and shows him the diary, they're never going to be able to use that medium to kind of spy on the daughter anymore. Like, they're going to have to figure out a new way to try to do bad parenting. I don't know what the word is, but, you know, it had to have been that pretty shocking for them to blow up their spot. But let's go ahead and read another top comment right now saying, "Not the antagonist. That is a gross invasion of your privacy and a clever move on your part to confirm her prying. Here, she's the antagonist for sure." And which I think that is, like, you know, I think that the stepmom is the antagonist for sure, but also, you know, I kind of feel like there might have been a better way to go about this, especially when they have a rough relationship to begin with. But going over to the controversial comments, the top ones are just, "Not the antagonist, not the antagonist, you're epic. Chuckles in delight." So it's just gonna be people saying not the antagonist. Here's a heavily downvoted one that I can't even click sometimes because whatever, there's a lot of bad comments in here that just never make sense and they're just downvoted. So I think that makes sense, and that pretty much wraps it up for me today. Make sure you subscribe, the notifications on if you like this type of content, but also giving me feedback as to how you like the channel and the direction it's going. Shorter videos, but I can do more per day. And as always, thanks for making it to the very end of the video. Check out that second channel I'm starting right now over at Decoy Court. I'll put the link in the description. It'll just be more silly content with just animation that I'm just poorly drawing with my trackpad on my computer. Let me know if you like that. Subscribe to that channel as well. But if nothing else, go ahead and put this on autoplay and watch the next episode of DecoyNoise coming up next.